Let's jump in. Episode
Okay.
one.
Here we are. Are you so
Yeah,
excited?
I'm so excited. Are you nervous? How we
A little
feeling?
bit. I'm really nervous only because we've never done this before. And I feel like anytime you do something new, you're terrible to begin with.
For
So,
sure.
yeah, I feel like we're going to look back on this one day and be like, oh my gosh. And we're going to just cringe and die a little inside, but it's going to be
Yeah,
fine.
it's
Like,
great. We're
yeah,
learning together. We're moving through it together. It'll be
right?
fine.
It's going to be great.
Yay.
Okay, so we actually started this podcast because we tend to talk almost daily, honestly, and
Okay.
figured we would just loop everybody else in. We love all things, I don't even know what.
Life.
Yeah,
Love all things
basically.
life and
Uh-huh.
positive thinking and outlooks
Yeah,
and learning
yeah,
but also leaning into the chaos because let's be
right.
real. It's chaos.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So we were talking, what, like 2 weeks ago, and
Mhm.
we were honestly, I own a couple different businesses and was growing my Instagram and was talking to Mel about how to do all these fun things and incorporate it. And she just all of a sudden randomly goes, we could start a podcast. And it was like the light bulb moment where we all went, oh my gosh, that's genius. Why are we not just recording all of our shenanigans all the time? Because we love doing content creation and marketing and doing it all together. Like, this has been just life giving. Like, I have enjoyed, even like the last 2 weeks as we're kind of getting ready. Oh my God, it's been so much fun.
It's been so great because we've been able to like dig into this creative side that we
Mm-hmm.
both just kind of ping pong off of each other.
Yep.
So we get to do that now with all of you listening to our crazy stories.
Right, exactly. Okay, so obviously we know each other's history. I was 9 years old when Mel was born. We have 5 kids in our family. I'm the oldest. She's the youngest. And ironically, we ended up being born with the quote unquote same faith. So we look very similar. Maybe not so much now because I've hit my 40s and she's still young in her 30s. But we used to look really similar, like to the point where honestly, my wedding picture is up at my husband's office. And he brought it home one day just to like clean the frame and everything. And my oldest, who was a lot younger at the time, he goes, why do you have a picture of Mimi, which is what we call Mel? And he literally thought that Kevin just had a picture of you. And it was me. So
A little confusing for the kids for sure.
a little bit
Um,
confusing.
yeah. I mean, I still think we look a lot alike and
Yeah.
I think our voices and our mannerisms and everything are very similar,
Yeah.
but it is true. We have the same personality almost. So
Mhm.
another story about that is we both worked at the Jewish Community Center in Omaha. Okay.
Uh-huh.
It's where we grew up there, honestly. We
Yeah.
both did dancing there, working out there, all of the things. We both
Yeah.
worked in so many departments there. I worked downstairs in the fitness center, in the kids fit and sit, in the daycare down there, and Tiffany worked upstairs. We had been there for probably at least what, a year or 2 years.
Probably.
And
Yeah.
it had been a while. And one day we were walking upstairs together, and no joke, somebody who worked there stopped us and he goes, I did not know you were sisters. This whole time, I thought you were the same person. This poor man going upstairs and downstairs, like, thought that we were one person.
A magic trick. Like, I don't know how we travel so fast. We're just
To you today, but okay. Like,
right.
just
Yeah.
had no idea.
This poor guy. He was so confused.
So funny. But isn't that funny? Because from the outside perspective, like, I feel like
Uh,
that happens where people think you look so alike. I
yeah.
think it happens with my girls all the time. People
Yeah.
always ask if they're twins. And to
Uh-huh.
me, I'm like, you guys are crazy. But
Right.
every store we go to, people think
Yep.
they're twins. So it's just that
Yep.
outside perspective, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. Let me tell you, as the older sister, like when we would walk to the mall, like, back in the day when people would go to malls, we did go to the mall one day and somebody asked us if we were twins. And he was so flattered because I was in my 30s at that point and you were in your 20s. And I was like, why, yes, do look like I'm in my 20s. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Meanwhile,
noticing.
I feel like you were at the age where you were like, this is terrible, and you just aged me. And I'm like, it's cool. It's fine.
It's kind of like being compared to your mom when they're like,
Yes.
oh, I thought you were sisters. And as the
Uh-huh.
daughter, you're like, what?
But as a mom, you're like, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I do look that young. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We are twins, actually. I'm going to go down
Did you
10 years.
know? Right, exactly. Okay, so I figured for this first podcast, since nobody else knows us other than,
Mhm.
our family and friends,
Mhm.
we would come up with a couple of questions just to kind of introduce the world to who we are. So, Mel, if you could describe yourself in 3 words, what would they be?
Mm. I think I would say I am outgoing, I am creative, and I think kindness is huge to me everywhere.
Yep,
Yeah, I think those are my top 3. Yeah,
I like it.
that's what I would say.
Okay.
What about you?
Okay, so I would go with creative. Super creative, love all things creativity. I would probably, this isn't one word, but I'd probably go with the most introverted extrovert you know.
Oh, yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes,
'Cause
for sure.
I absolutely can be extroverted, but I actually love being at home.
Yeah, yeah. You need both.
Right. I need both. I need the balance of both. I can swing one way to the other, but I just need to be grounded in both. And then let's see, the third, oh, I don't even know. I feel like it depends on, well, honestly, like it just depends on the kind of day. I don't know. A third one. I don't know. I'm struggling for a third.
Right?
I'll think about it. Okay. But
Okay, great. But 2,
I'm
amazing.
going to describe 3 words for you.
Oh,
And
okay.
you come up with 3 words for me. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
So, first word, I would say bubbly.
Ooh, good one.
Yes. Yep. Uh-huh. And then the second word, I would absolutely agree with your creativity. 100%. You are super creative. And then let's see, why is the third word always to come up
We're
with?
just stuck at 2.
Right? Top 2. Like, no, I can come up with the third word for you. I would say beautiful. Both
Oh,
inside and outside. I think that you
nice.
are absolutely beautiful. Like, you're a beautiful soul. So those are my 3.
That's so nice. Oh, okay.
Face.
Thank you.
Well, you do have my face.
I mean, I stole it, so you do have to think that, right?
Fair, fair, fair.
Like a mirror.
Right, weird.
Okay, so my 3 for you, caring is my number 1. I think you're just a natural
Aw.
caretaker. And I don't know how much of that is because you are the firstborn, right? You're the oldest.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think it's also down to like a soul level. Like
Yeah.
that is one of your love languages.
Yeah.
Total side story. Tiffany is our family Google. Like she is the caretaker. I think every family has one, and that Tiffany for ours, we could easily Google, but all 4 of us siblings will text Tiffany, hey, what's this? Could we text it in Google? For sure.
100% you could.
But you're the caretaker. So I think you're very caring, which is the top
thanks.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I think you are nerdy in the best way, like the best kind of way. Only in the
100%.
sense that like you're so funny and carefree and you don't care what other people think. Or if you do, you don't show it. And I think that's such a good quality to have. Like, it's not a bad thing to be a nerd. You know what I mean? Like, because you
Not at all.
you like what you like and you're open about it and you don't care. So your third thing, I think it's tied with creativity and intelligence because I think you're super creative, but I also think you're super smart in the way that you do things. And I don't think that you show a lot of people that side. Like, I think you kind of hide how smart you actually are.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair.
And
fair.
you know what I mean? You kind of like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, but you're actually very smart.
Well, fine. Just call me out to the rest of the world.
I will. It's her secret. Oh, we're
Okay,
spilling
but, like,
secrets.
do you feel like that's because I feel like it was a thing back when I was growing up. And I don't know, like, I know we grew up in the same time, but we also didn't grow up in the same time.
Yeah.
I feel like when I was growing up, like, first of all, nerdy was not in, and I am 100% a nerd. Like, there's just no doubt about it. My husband will say it. My kids will say it. I will say it. Like, I know that I am the nerd of the bunch, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But smart wasn't in. And being smart was like not the thing that you want to do. Like, you actually, when I grew up, it was like you wanted to be the ditzy blonde who had no idea what was happening. Like, what do you mean? I don't know why that was a thing when I was growing up, but it was a cultural thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I would say, yeah, I don't admit how much I actually know a lot of the time.
Yeah. But it totally was how you grew up. It was a little bit that way when I was growing up for sure, but it also was less. Like,
Yes.
I am also a nerd, will openly admit that. Theater nerd, musical nerd, like just that's me, right?
Yeah.
And even now it's funny because in my relationship, we talk about that. Like, he was the lacrosse jock and I was the nerd. And we didn't date until, we were older, but I'm like, we would not have dated.
Right.
We lived in two different worlds.
Right? Yeah. Exactly.
But it did shift a little bit when I was going through high school. Like, it was better to be a nerd.
Yes.
Like, it wasn't as shamed.
Yes. What is that movie that came out? It came out when I was in high school, which is probably why it started to lessen on yours. It was the She's All That movie. Where she has the glasses and then it's the nerd, and then like is actually super beautiful. I feel like that was like the forefront of changing that narrative when I was in high school at that point. So like it was past, like I couldn't be the
it was ingrained
hot nerd. Right. Yeah. Hot nerd was not a thing.
It's a thing now, and we own it and we wear it
100%.
proudly.
Absolutely.
Hot nerds for the world.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. So, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received? And I feel like we need to break this down. You can either choose, like, is it motherhood? Is it, relationships? Like, what is the best piece of advice or a couple pieces that you've ever received in your whole life?
Okay. So I think relating to motherhood, the best piece of advice I ever heard was when I was pregnant with my first, and one of my old coworkers told me, and I stand by this to this day. She said, it's not your job to tell your kids who to be. It's your job to figure out who they already are. And
that's a good one.
I'm telling you,
that's a really good one.
It's so good. And as my kids get older and like their personalities really start to come out at this age that they're at, it's such a good reminder. Like, I'm not telling them who to be. I'm really like, you're uncovering layers of like, what do you love? What do you like? How are you? Are you silly? Are you shy? Are you, like, whatever it is, whatever the personality is, you're just kind of taking these layers off and figuring it out. And I love that mindset.
Yeah. That's a really good one. So I actually got one from my coworker when I was pregnant with my oldest. And so I have a high schooler. And so the piece of advice she gave me when I was pregnant, and I honestly thought she was like, at first I was like, I cannot believe you're saying this to me. And then I have since passed this advice on to everybody who's pregnant, and they probably think I'm like the worst person ever. And then they like find out that I'm like totally telling the truth. The first 3 months are terrible. Like they're good in the sense that like they're snuggly and they're, so cute and all the things, but it's terrible. Like, she told me that. She's like, but it gets so much better after 3 months. She's like, so just hold on. And I was like, what a terrible mother to be saying that to me. How could you ever say that about motherhood in general? And then I had him and I was like, oh, okay, this is really hard. And I just kept remembering her saying, just get to 3 months. Because it was, as much as it was amazing and all of the things, it was really hard. And so then once I got to that 12 weeks, she was absolutely right. Like, it was life-changing. He was sleeping a little bit more. We were getting into our routine. He was smiling. He was interacting. He was becoming he was becoming not just like a potato
Yeah.
who just lays there. He was becoming a human.
Yeah.
And it was so much better. So I always tell new moms that, and I'm sure that there are still some people out there who are like, "Can you believe she said that?" Yeah, I did. It's true. It was
But
the
it's
best advice I ever
true.
got. Yeah.
You know what? Because it's kind of like when you go in, like you take your kids in for a shot and you don't tell them, or you're like, oh, it doesn't hurt. And then they do it and they're like, what the hell? That hurt. Why didn't you warn me? And so it feels
Right.
worse, you know, like
Uh-huh.
versus,
Yes.
oh, it hurts, but just a second. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you're setting
Yep.
up that expectation of like the first 3 months are really, it's a shell shock. I mean, it just
Yes.
is. Like
Uh-huh.
you have no idea until you go through it. And it is. It's magical and it's wonderful. And there's still the baby smell and the newborn scrunch and oh my God. Like
I
it's
miss
so
it,
good.
and I also don't.
Yes, same. Like I miss it, but you couldn't pay me to do it again.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. Like at this point, let's just find other people to have the babies that we can
Yep.
snuggle in on.
Yes.
And then we can hand them back and we can sleep. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I like that though, because it's
Yeah.
setting the stage so you fully understand it.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's one talking about our ages, because obviously, like I said, we're almost a decade apart.
Mhm.
What is the biggest difference between being a mom in your 20s versus being a mom in your 30s?
Ooh, I think in your 20s, you just care a lot more about other people. And
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
when you're a mom in your 20s, I think you lean on other people
Mhm.
and you kind of go away from yourself and your own
Yeah.
gut instincts, you know? So
Yeah.
you kind of like, you look for answers here and you look for answers there and you look for advice here. And it kind of gets mucky and confusing
Yeah.
because you kind of get lost in what you want and what
Yeah.
you want it to look like. And I think once you hit your 30s in general, you just care less. Like
Yeah.
you just hit this point and, you know, you realize it's your life. These are your kids. You get to do what you want. And I think
Yeah.
it's so liberating going into your 30s. Like leaving your
Right.
20s, people make it sound like, oh my gosh, you're entering your 30s. Oh, it's so sad. You're so old. And I'm like, I love my 30s. I
was the
truly do.
best.
The
Ah,
best.
the 30s were so good. I
Yeah.
loved the 30s.
The
Yeah.
best. So
Yeah.
how does it feel now transitioning into your 40s? Like, is it different or is it kind of the same liberating
I
thing?
feel like it's really similar to entering my 30s.
Mhm.
I love being in my 40s because you actually even care even less. Like it doesn't seem like it's possible, but it actually is possible. Like you just don't care. Plus, we're no longer sleep deprived. Because I have like the middles. I'm in like that middle age, which is my absolute favorite ages because they are self-reliant. They are hilarious with their personalities, and sarcasm. I think it's just to get like their true personalities is truly, I just love it. Like, I don't know. So entering my 40s as motherhood has been good because you do have a little bit more space to find yourself and your own interests again because they're not relying on you all day, every day.
Yeah.
You do miss the snuggles every once in a while. They do start to stink a little bit more. And you just, on the other hand, though, I will say, raising middles. I heard this podcast. Glennon was talking about it on We Can Do Hard Things podcast. And she said at one point that raising older children was one of the loneliest things she's ever done, which is
Okay.
so true because when they're little, like everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody understands, like, you can talk about all the hardships, like, oh my gosh, I'm having trouble potty training. Oh my gosh, so-and-so's having trouble at school. Oh my gosh. But then when they start to get older and they hit that middle school, high school range, it's harder because you can't go online and be like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm struggling with while I'm raising my kid, because you want to keep that a little bit to themselves. Like that's their lives that we can't talk about. So it's like this fine balance of finding your community with these middles, and also protecting your kids' privacy and what they are struggling to go through. It's like that little kid, little problem, big kid, big problem situation where it does feel lonely as far as like, how do I get advice from this without betraying what my kids are going through? So you can't ask anybody. So you're just kind of winging it, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that's probably been the hardest thing that I didn't realize was an actual thing until they put it into words. And I was like, you're right.
Yeah. And I've
Mhm.
never thought about that. But it does
Mhm.
make
Yeah.
sense, you know,
Yeah.
because you
Yep.
you want to protect their privacy and their issues. And so it's
Yeah.
hard to know like, okay, where do I look for answers for this? Who do I talk
Right.
to about this? Because you
Right.
do want to protect them.
Right.
And that's so true. And I feel like even with
Mhm.
like, you know, mine are both in elementary now, there is still such a community with the moms of like, how is
Mhm.
she handling this and how is
Yeah.
she doing this? You know, and it's very like, we just kind of bounce off of each other. You know, where is she
Mhm.
at? Where is she at? Like, and
Yeah.
you don't really get that as much because
Yeah.
you're also not there as much, you know,
Right.
like
Yeah.
I pick the girls up from school and they play at the playground for 20 minutes. So then I'm talking to
Mhm.
another parent for 20 or 30
Yeah.
minutes. And you just don't do
Yeah.
that when your kids are
No.
older.
No,
So
we don't.
I think that makes sense. I also,
Mhm.
going back to you saying this is your favorite age, I just want to touch on that because I don't think a lot of people say that about teens. And it makes me honestly really sad. I think I had read a quote recently about how teenage girls, it's not that raising teenage girls, it's really hard. It's that
Mhm.
people give up on teenagers. Like
Yeah.
they become teenagers and they push back on boundaries and their voice gets a little bit louder and they're trying to figure out who they are. And the world kind of gets mad at that when
Yep.
in reality, like that's part of uncovering who they are. That's part of this
Right.
transition.
Uh-huh.
And so I think that's a great perspective that you have because like I said, you just don't hear it very often. You just hear teenagers are so hard. This is so hard. Like, let's just get through this. You know, they don't like me. I don't like them. Like, and it's really
Yeah.
bad messaging. And so
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
really good to like go into that. And that's one thing that you've taught me as well as the sass has started in my house. Like before when they were younger and like your kids were older and your kids had sass, I remember as a young mom, I was like, whoa, I can't believe they just said that. But like you just had such a good like laugh it off, you know,
Yeah.
don't take it to heart. They're just
Yeah.
they're being kids, they're finding their voice, they're doing it. And it in tune makes your kids so much more confident to trust their inner voice because they're not being shut down with how it's coming out. And so even that is something that like I've learned through you because
Yeah.
mine is almost 8 and the sass is sassing.
Mhm. Yeah. Now, that
We are
being said,
there.
my kids can't be disrespectful. So
Correct.
if they were ever crossing that line in front of other people, what you didn't always see behind the scenes is afterwards. Usually I would give it the next day and then be like, hey, you know what? You kind of crossed a little bit too far. And I think that that's just a safe way to show them like we're a safe environment. You are supposed to push the boundaries, maybe dial it down a little bit next time. So you kind of know, like, it's almost like the bowling alley when you have the gutters up, you know, to protect them.
Yes.
You have to like widen the gutters a little bit and they get a little wobbly, but you still have to say, like, hey, remember, they're still here. And then eventually there's no gutters and then they go off to college.
Yeah. Oh, you're mine.
It's fine.
But it's so true, right?
Yeah.
And that's so funny that
Mhm.
you say turn it down because that's literally what I say to my 7-year-old
Uh-huh.
is she'll say something and it's not a bad thing, but it's like a little extra. And so I'm just like, turn it down.
Little freaking line. Just turn the sauce down just a little bit, like a little too
Touch.
far. Dial it back.
Yeah. Like you're not in trouble. You're a person.
Right.
You're a human.
Right.
Let's just,
I get
let's,
it.
a little nicer. Cause let's be real. Let's be real. Okay. I am sassy and I know that. And that's
Mhm.
what's funny is like with my kids being the age that they are, Evelyn, my 7-year-old, she's a parrot. Like the things
Mhm.
that she says, the way that she says them, it's like it's coming out of my brain. And then when I hear it from her, I'm like, oh, that was very sassy of me.
Yep. I have a little mini me too.
Oh.
She's my youngest. Yeah. Oh, wait.
Oh.
What's more confusing is the youngest is I have a youngest daughter. And she is also looks just like Mimi, and me, and acts just like Mimi because
Yeah.
they're both youngest.
Yeah.
So it is, it is.
Yeah.
And some people will say, like, how is it raising a mini me? And I'm like, I'm not raising a mini me. I'm raising Mimi at this point again.
And you've already done that.
I've already lived through Mimi. It's
Round
fine.
2.
Poor daughter of mine. I've got you. Don't worry. I know how to handle this.
Now you're better equipped to deal with it.
Right? Exactly.
It is so funny to me, though, how similar she is to me, just in her personality. Like,
Yeah.
she's so girly, and she loves toys, and she loves to play. She doesn't like playing by herself, and that was me always. Like, I hated being by myself. I still do. Like, when my fiance is out of the house, my kids sleep in my bed because I don't want to be alone.
Oh my gosh. My youngest wants me to like sleep in her bed every night. She's like, will you just sleep with me? I'm like, no, you pick, and I'm going to sleep in my bed, and I'm going to sleep tonight, and you're going to sleep in your bed, and it's going to be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's like a little mini you. 100%. Yeah.
It's so nice.
Okay. So how do you prioritize self-care in your busy life?
Okay. So I think this one just depends on where you're at in your journey and where you're feeling and honestly what you need. I think it's something that changes all the time. But one thing I hate as a mom, which I think happens a lot in motherhood, when the girls were young and I stayed home, a lot of people would bring up like, oh, go take a long shower, blow dry your hair, take your time, enjoy. And it's like, that's not self-care. That is what you should be doing every day. The bar is literally on the floor for that, you know?
Right.
And so I think I just had to shift that. And right now, for, the last 10 years, I love working out.
Yeah.
And I don't love it in a sense of like going really hard and pushing through and like, obviously that feels good and stuff. But for me, a lot of my motivation is music. So when I go to the gym for an hour, I get to turn my brain off. I get to listen to music that I want to listen to. I have nobody in my ear. Like, it's my own time. So that's a majority of my self-care. But I think there's other things, like sometimes I'll get my nails done or I'll go shopping by myself, like even to just home goods or something. Like I think it just depends on where you're at.
Yes.
But I hate the bathroom stuff. I hate the bathroom stuff for self-care.
No, I agree. I agree.
It's not it. What's yours? What's your number one?
Okay, so honestly, again, nerd here. Mine is reading, like 100% reading. Although, you know what? I will say I'm kind of in my grandma era. I'm in my grandma era, and I love it. In the sense that it's January here, it's cold. We're not really doing a whole lot because we're not out and about. It's football season, so hubby's watching football, and I can kind of do what I want. Kids are off playing. So I've been reading a lot, and I started Sudoku, which I know that I am years late to this party. But let me tell you, it is quite helpful in actually turning off all the different tabs in my brain.
Okay.
So, I've been into the Sudoku thing. It's fine.
Love. It gets your brain working.
It does. Yes. I don't know what it is about it, but give me a cozy blanket and then a fire sometimes, Sudoku or a good book, and I'm good. Like, that's really all that I need. So yeah, that's basically like my self-care. I don't find that I need to be as intentional with the middle kids now because they're in school all day, every day. I don't have to worry about that. I get my time when they're at school, obviously working still too, but my job is a little bit more flexible. So it's easy for me to incorporate like, okay, I can have a quiet lunch by myself, or I can watch a show by myself and everybody's not like harping on me or crawling over me.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm not finding that I need to be as intentional at self-care because it's woven through in my day already. I have the slow mornings with my cup of tea, which is probably the best way that I have found to make myself like productive and also rested, is that I need that quiet morning. So I ship them off to school and then I have my me time, which is the best. So to me, that is self-care.
Yeah.
Versus, yeah, I agree on the shower thing. Like, no, the shower is not self-care.
No. And so many
No.
people, even an everything shower, I don't care if you're doing a
Right.
spa day, whatever. That's not like, take that off the table. If you're a
Yes.
new mom or if you're a
Yep.
dad and
Yep.
you're telling your wife like, oh, go do this, like, no, not self-care. Doesn't count.
Exactly.
It's not filling her bucket. It doesn't
No.
count. Stop doing that.
No, it's just getting all the like puke off of her.
Yes. It's literally the bare minimum. Like, she should get that every day. Okay.
Yes,
Like,
100%.
you know, it's just because it's a lot. And, you know, I just think people like forget how much moms carry, because it's not just the time, but it's also the mental load that like you're just constantly going, you know, even with both of my kids are in school now, but it's the same thing. I work during the day, and then as soon as they're home, it's like, okay, go. Mine are, you know, on top of me, Velcro. We have all these things to do, appointments, and I have to help with the homework. And, you know, we're big in the play. We're big in the play right now, big into toys. And so there's a lot of intentional time with them. So I definitely have to be more intentional about like my time to myself. I am interested to see how long you're into Sudoku, because Tiffany is so big on all of these hobbies. I think you've done every single one. Like, no lie. You've
I have not learned how to knit.
But you crochet.
But I do crochet. In fact, honestly, like my husband was sitting there last week and he was like, so are you doing Sudoku again? Like, again, I had my cozy blanket. I had like, we have like a mattress pad warmer because it gets cold. Like, I mean, like I was like snuggled up, and he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, okay, I think we all understand that I'm going to hyperfixate on something until I'm done with it. And right now it's Sudoku. So we're good. And then we're going to move on. I mean, my hyperfixations have included, I've done watercoloring. I've done acrylic painting. I've done crocheting. We have an entire craft room downstairs. I haven't gotten into bracelet making yet, but it has been on my radar. That punch art, I would like to do that at some point. Yes. I do cross stitching, but the problem is that I keep starting all these projects and then like I don't finish them. So like last month, I decided that I was going to start crocheting, because I can crochet a blanket, a baby blanket, the same one over and over. And I can crochet sometimes baby hats, but I cannot guarantee that they're going to fit as they're supposed to. And I can crochet flowers, and like, that's it. So last month I decided I was going to start crocheting animals, just because why not? So, I got a book from the library, and I have a dragon started. I have the head, and I have body, and I have the tail, and I have the arm. No, the snout.
Okay.
And I haven't touched it in 2 weeks. So we'll see if this poor dragon gets finished.
Okay, so for our new viewers, here's what you're going to learn. Tiffany and I both have undiagnosed ADHD.
100%. Yes, 100%.
And you're going to see us go through our hyperfixations. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. In fact, give us the new things to focus on. So
yes. Oh my gosh. Tell me a new trend so we can pick it up and then forget about it. The new meal so we can eat it and then be sick of it and never want to eat it again.
Exactly. Yep. We're here for all of the hyperfixations.
We're here for it.
You.
Yes. The Marway. Tell me your recommendation.
Right? Okay. So last question. What kind of content are you most excited about sharing with our audience?
I think I'm most excited just to bring our positive perspective into motherhood and life in general. Let's be really real. Everyone's kind of going through a lot right now. Everything is really heavy. It feels hard and hard to carry. I know it's been a lot for both of us, and we've talked about that. But I want this to be such a bright light for people. And I don't want to say distraction, but I want to say like just a good reminder to focus on your home and your family and the things that you love and the things that bring you joy. I think that's what I'm most excited for and what people honestly need right now. It's something I need. Oh, I think it's never a bad thing to look for the positive and surround yourself with people that bring that light, fun energy.
Right. I feel like that's similar to, well, first of all, it's an amazing answer, so I can't even top that answer. I feel like what I'm really excited for is to see our village come forward, because there are definitely more people like us who are, finding the good in all of the things. It can be the crappiest day ever, but there's always going to be positive and good. So we're going to put positive love out there and we're going to see what happens. And I think that even the being really real and authentic and true has always been something that has been super important to me. And honestly, like, there were times when I'm sure our mom was like saying, Tiffany, I can't believe you put that out there on Facebook before.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure she was like, I'm sure she still sometimes scratches her head saying, Tiffany, you can't say that. And I'm like, but why? And then you know what happens when I do say that? I have all of these people, even like within my little community, because we live in different cities, but even in my little community, who will chime in and be like, thank you for saying that. Thank you for being real. Oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one that felt this way. No, it's me. I'm just the one saying it out loud.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to find our village here to say, like, I know that there's more of you out there that are like, yep, okay, let's go. Like, let's do this together. Let's do this motherhood thing together, and let's do the hard days together, and let's bring the fun and light to it, because there's too much heaviness. So
yes, I agree. That's a great answer. First of all, 10 out of 10. Great answer.
Thank you.
Great answer.
Thank you.
I love it. But it's so true. So I think it'll be so good. I think our village will come forward and find us and join us. Yeah. And I think it'll be really good. So I'm super excited.
I can't wait to meet them. I'm so excited.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Well, we've successfully somehow managed to pull this podcasting off. So I'm
first
excited.
Episode.
Yeah.
Pat yourself on the back, girl.
We did it. All right. Here's hoping that this all worked as it was supposed to, technology-wise.
Stay tuned. We'll see if this is a draft.
Don't forget to follow us. Yep, exactly. I do think we have to say the caveat. Don't forget to subscribe and follow our podcast on YouTube. And you can also find us on Instagram at _bookend_sisters. We will be hanging out there with all of our fun videos and daily stories and daily life. So hopefully we will see you there.
Thank you for being here, guys.
Bye. Yeah.